Everybody have a good weekend?
Me.
Yeah, good job, guys. What a busy
Yeah.
weekend and fun weekend for you guys.
It was busy. It was fun. We had a good time.
Yeah.
Got to meet up with a lot of people, a lot of good friends haven't seen in a while, Had some interesting experiences that it's pretty interesting. I would say sometimes it's, when you go to these events and it's all speakers, so all of us together may not be the best thing, I would say, because we can get in too much trouble with all of us together and nothing to do except drink and go get in trouble. So, which is what we kind of did. But it's all good. Anybody have a good weekend that they did? One person? Amy, you got to hang out with us, Amy. That was cool,
Yeah,
huh?
we got to meet Amy.
I know that I had a phenomenal weekend. It was amazing. Yes, thank
Very
you.
cool.
You guys are
everybody what you won.
What was that?
Tell everybody what you won.
I won a Lenovo 14 ThinkBook laptop. But actually, I won more than that because I feel like I won that grand prize by getting to meet everybody this weekend. That was the grand prize. The grand prize is not always physical.
See a lot of the back end operation of stuff, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and people need to think about, the grand prize is not always physical. Change your mindset. It is an opportunity that's the grand prize.
And Amy, tell them how you got to meet all of us.
Well, because I took action. So I was told that I had won this laptop and it was being raffled by one of the lenders in Seattle. And I live 2.5 hours away from Seattle. So he said, well, you could come pick it up and drive here. And I took action and got 3 hours of sleep, drove 2.5 hours to pick up my laptop and get to spend the day with amazing people.
And see how crazy we are.
I loved it. It was great. But I'm sad I missed the night before.
You saw the videos.
I did.
Yeah.
I know it went on, but it was great. I loved it. You guys
got to see some of the things we found in that house.
I can't believe some of the things that were brought back from that. It was good. Yes, you guys are awesome.
What happens at events and things that happen stay at the events. That's all I got to say.
That's right.
Yeah, Steve had hair. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. I had hair. That's true. That is true.
Okay.
Actually, your mermaid thing was really fun too.
Oh, yeah. Steve actually said he enjoyed it, that I threw a good party.
Yeah, she did. She threw a good party. It was a good time. Ashley was on her whirlwind tour. You were at Felipe's event. And
so I started out, I was going to talk about this a little bit later.
Yeah, go ahead.
Talk about it now while everybody's getting on. So first I started in Alabama. I went to Felipe's in Diego's mastermind event in Alabama. It was beautiful. My first time on the Gulf Shores there. And I got to speak to everyone about what I was doing, show them Asana. And then just meeting everyone that was there. There's probably maybe 20 mentees and maybe 5 or 6 speakers there. So that was really fun. We all stayed in a house together. And like my biggest takeaway from that was the morning we were all leaving on Sunday, they had us do a goal sheet where you'd write down your goals, but then it had like the next 4 weeks. What are those action items going to be that you're going to do? What do you need to knock off your to-do list to reach those goals? So I thought that was really helpful. And then you got into groups of 3 and you said it out loud what you were going to do each week. Then after that, I actually took my friend Katie, she might actually be on here now, with me to that event. And then we flew to Houston where she lives. And I got some new headshots done. I got to go to Galveston. I met with a turnkey company. And hey, you guys, can I be a little bit quieter, please? Thank you. I got to meet with it's Texas Turnkey, and they're awesome. We got to see their whole operation. They do property management, they do new builds, they do rehabs, and it was really great. So I'm really interested in maybe working with them more. And then I also met with a builder. So there's this, I might have talked to you guys about it before, there's a old mobile home community. So all the lots were owned by individuals, and then you have your, they would have their mobile home on the lot that they also owned. Well, developers have started buying all of those lots, and they're building these little tiny single family homes on them. And they're like just so cute. Well, now there's the builder that I talked to is starting to do duplexes. So we went and looked at the plans and toured the single family home that would be one of the units of the duplex to see the layout, stuff like that. So that was really cool. And then I had my mermaid party at Steve's house. He did my laundry. I ate so many tacos and fajitas throughout the whole week. I'm so sick of them. So then
I'm a surveyor.
Oh yeah. So then I got to go to meet Texas Professional Surveying. So the guy that does our video, he was doing a video for them, and I just tagged along, and I put it on my Instagram, but it was just the guys let me talk with them and video them about what a surveyor is and what they do and how it benefits you as a real estate investor. And like, I knew a lot of the things, but there was so many things that were like, oh my gosh, yeah, that makes so much sense. So go back and watch that video if you guys haven't yet, but it can save you a lot of money making sure that you get a proper survey done and you hire a company that knows what they're doing. It wasn't shown in the video, but when we were with the surveyors, the neighbor stopped, and he said that he was renting his home, but he said his landlord had told him that he owned more than they did, and they had planted these beautiful banana trees and these gourds and stuff. And it ended up, once Texas surveying company came in, that the banana trees and all these gourds were actually on the new development property. So they were like really sad that they were losing their whole garden, and their landlord thought this whole time that was part of his property, and it actually wasn't. So then after that, me and Steve flew to Seattle, survived a 4-hour plane ride together.
Next to each other.
Yeah. And then the poor lady sitting next to me. So then, that looks good. So then in Seattle, pretty low-key night, the first night. And then the next morning, Steve had 2 presentations. He was on a panel, did a presentation, did a couple intros for people. And I just kind of hung out. And then at night was where the fun began. We went to,
that's kind of when we lit the fuse, I guess you could say.
So we had dinner, and then we there was probably 12 of us in a 7-passenger Escalade, I think it was.
Yeah.
And we went to, so this flipper, he had a house. He had purchased it for $900,000, which to me is just like, you could buy a beautiful mansion here for that. And it was a hoarder house. I mean, junk all over. You had to like go through the garage and then out back to like get into the house. And then there was just so many treasures inside. So like there was probably 10 boxes of brand new wigs in there. And that's how Steve got his hair. I opened up a wig from, everything that was in there was like 10 to 20 of them, 10 to 20 lipsticks, 10 to 20 Hawaiian shirts. There was a room in the basement that was a huge bird cage. It was a whole room. And then there was 3 other big bird cages. Like people could have fit in these bird cages. They were so big.
They may have. We don't really know that. It started getting a little odd. I'm like, we're probably on camera right now. This guy's probably watching us.
But yeah, it was just like so interesting to see different markets where, this dumpy hoarder house, cost $900,000. And I can't imagine what it would cost for him to have to clear that house out.
Well, he said about $220. I think he said about $220 it was going to cost him.
For the full rehab, yeah.
For the full rehab, it was going to take about $220, and then $22,000 just to clean the house out. Remember, he said he's negotiating. Yeah. But he said after he went there, first he thought the guy was ripping him off. And he's like, man, after I'm here, he's like, it's actually probably about right. The guy was probably,
Vincent just said, is that Heat and Daynard's flipping? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
James Daynard took us through it.
Yeah. So James is awesome. He's a really, really good guy. Yeah.
He is. So then the next day, I had my presentation, and then me and Steve both did a couple intros. We kept competing as to who would get to be in the keynote speaker room, and we had a lot more fun that day.
She won.
So then that night we just hung out with the speakers, and I went to an old crack house. That was a heat and tainted one too. So we get there.
Your mom must be so proud of you.
The lock is broken off the door. Okay. So there's a rope tied on where the lock used to be. And so the neighbors yell out the window. They're like, hey, did you buy this house? He's like, yeah. And they just purchased that house and moved in. And they had bought it for $1.3 million. And he said that was $200,000 more than he thought that this house ARV would be. So he was like super happy that his ARV might be going up just because that house sold for 1.3. But like there was so many holes in the walls, completely gutted. We went inside and there was somebody living in there. They weren't there then, but like there was clothes hanging up. There was a chair. There was a cooler with like melted ice in it. There was a chair upstairs. So there was definitely someone squatting in there.
And Ashley, isn't that the house that was the straw cellar? It wasn't the real cellar that now is wrapped up.
Oh yeah, it was a fraud house. So it was sold by a fraud seller. So now they're trying to figure out that. And that was something like that I've never been exposed to, at least, of that actually happening. But in New York, we have you have to go through attorneys and stuff. So it's a lot longer process to figure that out. But
yeah, it was, the thing I'll say, I don't know if obviously this one was a little different. This was the first time virtual. And all the recordings, if anyone wants to still get tickets, I think you can buy the recordings. And just going to these, it just keeps you in rhythm. You get to listen to people and it kind of reminds you, it's kind of like this, right? You get different people's perspectives. I mean, I would say the people that were there and the people that were talking, the ones that I'm friends with and know, and other people, you're probably in the top single digits of successful real estate people in the country that were at this event or speaking remotely. So, it's always nice to listen to them and kind of, even if you don't think that you're at their level or whatever, you just kind of get to mix with them. And maybe Amy can attest or not that it's nice to listen to other people, what other people do, what their vertical is. It's like everybody has a superpower, right? You go to these events and you're like, you may think you're doing good, and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, man, these people are like rock stars, But it's kind of good because it puts you to another level and it
right.
makes you be uncomfortable. So yeah, I think it was good. Before we kind of start talking about some mindset stuff, does anybody have any questions about us, the event, the Houston turnkey people? We're trying to set something up with them. We're kind of talking with them right now about working out a plan or a program to give something, maybe a special discount or something special for people that we can send them their way. So
provide education.
And even
you're not like going in blind, just working with them. Yeah.
And this is tip to tip. This is a brand new property, all the way where you don't even pay until it's rented, and then they manage the asset. So it's complete. You don't have to do a thing. You don't even have to ever set foot in Houston. So they're good friends of mine. So we're talking to them. They're great people, and they're open to having a discussion of seeing if we can do something to help out everybody here. So they don't normally take on just people. It normally has to come funneled from something or someone, but they're willing to have a discussion.
Yeah, they have a waiting list right now too.
Yeah. They have a waiting list. So they're even willing to maybe if we do something where we bring people down to Houston, maybe we can do an all-day event, maybe a Houston experience, do a class, have Daryl Dyke there, have all these people there. Everybody can kind of get consumed by everything, and they can kind of, the plans and everything. So it's definitely worth it. Does anybody have questions, by the way? Ashley, are there any questions?
No, I think I answered them all in the chat, but people said they would be interested in hey guys. There was,
is there a closet for them or
yeah, I need build a bird cage room to put them.
Build a bird cage. That's what that guy did.
I think I got all the questions. But I did want to tell you guys too that we're going to, if you guys stay till the end, we're going to do, give you guys the cash flow calculator too that Steve created today. I gave it away for my presentation that I did for the PNW. So I figured I'd give it to you guys too. We had done it a long time ago, like one of our first giveaways. So if anyone's new, you wouldn't have had it yet before.
Cool. Cool. All right. Well, I think it was good. If you guys have any questions about it, obviously let us know. Happy to chat with you. But you know, it's funny because we had this you know, this ride along with Jimmy in the car, and it made me think about the when you talk to people that are professionals that kind of do this for a living, they have a different way of looking at making mistakes. And so I thought this would be important for us to talk about. A lot of times when we make a mistake and we do something wrong, especially if we're newer in real estate, you know, we let it beat us up. We just let it beat us down, right? And so I think we want to be very careful about making mistakes and what we tell ourselves when we make a mistake. So I'm just curious, is there anyone on here that when they make a mistake, how do they handle it? Is anyone willing to share, you know, not that they beat themselves up or go sit in the closet for 4 hours, but like, how do they actually handle a mistake, whether it's financial? I mean, Jimmy may have made a big mistake and, you know, he was totally fine with it, right? So he just didn't let it bother him. I'm just curious how other people handle mistakes. And I'm going to give you some lessons that I learned. Is anybody willing to share?
Yeah, Steve, I'll jump in. So,
Okay.
so I'm active duty military. I'm a submariner, so I'm probably not normal. But one thing we do whenever we have a mistake, what we do is we do what's called, we critique it. We bring everybody who was involved into a room, and we go through, you know, what happened, you know, no blame, and then we figure out, okay, what does right look like? What should have happened, and then we kind of figure out what led to this error. So it's a very, you know, nuclear Navy kind of, you know, kind of thing, but it sucks when you're doing it, but at the end, you really have a good understanding of what happened and how to prevent it for next time.
Yeah. And I'm guessing, you know, it's like kind of like in the airlines or any cruise situation, pointing fingers and placing blame. That's not the time to have that, right? That's first, it's like, let's figure out the situation and let's resolve it. We can discuss later how it happened and maybe try to set up something. And so, you know, I think what we're going to learn. So thanks, Vince. I appreciate that. And I think that what I've learned is that mistakes are definitely going to happen, right? There is no way. It's like riding a bike, right? When you first learned to ride a bike, you made a lot of mistakes, and those mistakes were falling down, right? And it wasn't a failure because you learned. It's like if you had a little kid and you tried to get them to walk a couple times and they didn't walk, you're like, forget it, quitter. You're never going to walk in your life, right? It's just not going to happen. Or try to talk, right? So it's just, again, we know that mistakes happen. It's how we talk to ourselves. So I remember early on when I talked to a mentor of mine, and I was like, what is one thing that if you could go back, what would you tell yourself that I should know at this point early on in my investing career? And he was kind of quiet, and he kind of, like, without even missing a beat, he said, fail often, fail fast, and learn everything that you can from what happened and apply what you learned as a lesson. And I didn't really understand that at first. And he said, those lessons will make you wealthier than you could ever imagine. You need to become so good at failing and finding those lessons that's actually what you're going after. And he down the road, I didn't catch it at the time. I was kind of like, okay, that's great. You know, fuck up something and you'll figure it out down the road and pat yourself on the back. But he said, you know, Steve, he said, success is a puzzle. He said, it's your job to figure that puzzle out. He said, and making a mistake is not a reflection on you. He said, in school, we are taught that if we made a mistake, we fail. He goes, that is not how the business industry works. You overbid a job, you underbid a job, your time constraints are not correct. All of those are just lessons to go, okay, what won't I do next time? You know, and if you think that, after you fail is actually, a lot of us think that that is what shows our education level and what shows our level of competence. But it's actually a point that if you can actually ask the question, like, just like Vince said, like when you fail, you kind of tell yourself, okay, is there anything I could have done next time to not make that happen? And can I make a documentation? Can I document that so that it doesn't happen? Now, I will tell you from personal experience, when you see someone make a mistake, when you see someone fail, you want to see someone's true character, you put them under pressure and you watch them fail and how they react, whether it's a business partner or spouse, I don't care what it is, how you see them react to that mistake is going to tell you more than any resume, any bank account statement, anything you can imagine. And that will tell you the most about something. Now, I'll give you my example in flying, right? When you're flying an airplane and a mistake happens, let's say it's an emergency, right? Let's say we're at 40,000 feet. We got 300 people in the back and we're over the Pacific and we have an engine catch on fire. The last thing we're going to do is start pointing fingers, right? So there's a process that we're taught. Maybe Vince can share his, because it's probably similar. Probably he's down below, I'm up above, but basically similar. So what we're taught is the first thing we do whenever there's an emergency, mistake happen, anything, is sit back and just take a breath and don't do anything. Now, the reason that we're taught that is by doing something and taking quick action, it actually could be the wrong action, right? So let's say you have an engine catch on fire and you're like, holy shit, I got to shut this engine down. And you shut down the only good remaining engine. And believe it or not, it has happened. So the last thing they want you to do is touch anything. They go sit back, take a breath, and assess the whole situation of what's going on. Okay, that's the first thing. So the first thing is assess the situation when you have made a mistake. That's number one. Number two, we are taught identify the actual problem. So again, I'll use flying, and this is for business too. So this is very, very relatable for business, because when me and my business partner, when we had our management company, when we had issues or problems, this is kind of how we would work through them, or how I would work through them. It's almost as if things start slowing down, right? A lot of people start speeding up and doing shit. It's like, you know what, just slow it down, take a breath, look around and see what's going on, okay? So the next thing we do is we have to actually identify the actual problem. Now, what I mean by identifying the actual problem is, I'll go back to the engine on fire. Well, when an engine catches on fire, all of a sudden, all these bells and whistles are going off. Things are shutting down. Just a lot of shit's happening, right? But the problem is the engine on fire. So if all of a sudden we're burning fuel on one engine and we get a fuel imbalance and we start focusing on the fuel imbalance problem while the engine is still engulfed in flames, we're not finding the actual problem. That's a derivative of a bigger problem. So a lot of times when there's a problem, when you have a problem in a business or you're flipping a property or something, and all of a sudden you get sidetracked and you're downstream of what the original problem was, you actually could be making the situation worse. So we get all these lights and hydraulics and fuel and all this stuff, and nobody touches anything. We're going, okay, what's the actual problem we have? The actual problem is the engine's on fucking fire, and we got to put that out as fast as possible. So identify the problem and then come up with the solution. This is the point in your business that you have to become the leader, or someone in your company has to become the leader and take control of the situation. So when you have to take control, somebody has to be in charge. People want to be led, especially when there's a problem, an emergency, a mistake. They want to be told what to do. You don't want a bunch of people going, well, what do you think? What do you got? What do you think? What do you think? It's like, no, here's what we're going to do. You do this, you do this, you do that, right? So you got to start delegating to the solution, okay? And then the last thing you got to do is you have to communicate what you're doing with everybody involved, right? So for example, in the flying world, we've got to let like air traffic control know, we've got to let the flight attendants know, we got to call maintenance control, we got to call Boeing. All these conversations are happening one person's flying the plane, one person's working checklists, one person's making all the calls. All this stuff is happening in unison to fix that one problem. So think about this in your business, right? When a problem happens, no matter how bad the problem is, how do you react to it? We know the mistake happened, right? We get that. How do you react to it? And what do you do after the problem? You know, it's like looking in the rear view mirror. Are you staring in the rear view mirror at the bump that you hit? Or are you looking out the windshield to figure out how you don't hit another bump, right? And so you've got to make sure that you go through, and whatever your process may be, that's how I was taught in flying. Vincent, how's your process in like a sub?
So talking about like when the problem happens.
Yeah, like shit hits the fan. You've got something going on. How do you handle it?
Okay, sure. So over the general announcements, we'll hear fire in the forward compartment, fire from unknown source. We don't know where it's coming from. But everybody on the submarine has their particular role, right? Based on where they are in the watch section. So the guys that are on watch, they take immediate actions to put the ship in a safe place. The guys that are off going, they might go, manning fire teams, manning damage control teams, securing equipment. But once we get that that announcement, everyone knows their job, everyone knows where to go, and like you said, there's a ton of things going on in unison. But the ultimate thing is keeping the ship safe, keeping the crew alive. Because like you said, just going willy-nilly to the surface, that fires love oxygen. If we go to the surface and put on oxygen, we're gonna
make it worse.
Way worse. So
yeah. And so, and again, everybody, obviously these are, life and death, right? Yours may not be life and death, but I will tell you that the way you handle it, and again, remember, for those of you that have people you work with, whether they're employees, team members, whatever, are you the example you set, right? If you are going to be the leader, right? If you look around and there's no leader, I got news for you. You're the fucking leader. You better step in and get shit done, because if not, it will crumble. Somebody needs to take charge. And what you need to think about is, when I was being coached, there was this thing we were taught, and it was called above the line, below the line, right? Very simple. It was a trigger for us. Above the line is OAR, ownership, accountability, and responsibility. Below the line is blame, excuse, and denial, BED. So you have OR and you have BED. So for us, that was a trigger. If we were blaming people, like you're in a bad mood, shit happens, and you're just blaming, it's like, hey, you're below the line. Like, you got to get above the line. Take ownership. If you messed up, you messed up. That's fine. It's okay to mess up, right? And again, failing is a part of the process. It's part of learning, right? We know, okay, I mean, that's how most, NTSB accidents will go ahead and say like, hey, what happened? What could we do different? What was the problem? And that's how things get better. That's how your business will evolve. And so just think of failing and think of making mistakes as part of the process. And so a lot of times, like I said, it's very hard, right? It's very humbling when you have a problem, when it's your business, and especially if you made the mistake. But remember, everyone's going to make them. It's not if you make, how you handle it. You really want to think about how you're going to handle the mistake. Sorry, my mic going in and out? You guys hear me? Okay, cool. So just think about how you handle mistakes and how you do that. And I'm curious if anybody has some thoughts on that. I'd like to know what you guys think before I pick on someone.
I'll say something.
Go ahead.
I've kind of heard the same thing you just said, and I've been taught to fail forward. Find your failures, figure out what happened, and move forward, and don't do it again.
Yeah, very good. That's great. And we all have different analogies, and so it's just something we really have to think about, and we have to learn, revise, and be okay with what happens, right? And it's totally normal. Like, has anybody had a deal that went south? No one? Really? No one's had a deal go south? Are you fucking kidding me? Okay. So look, we all have it, right? We all have deals, whether we want to admit it or not, maybe. We all have shit that happens, right? But the reality is how do you deal with it? And you've got to make sure that how you deal with it is key. Because again, people are watching you. People are seeing how you act, whether it's an employee, a family member, a spouse, whatever it is, they're watching you. And how you act at work is how you act at home. And so we've all had stuff happen, right? And I've talked to a lot of people on this call that tell me their challenges. So I know they're lying when no one has said they have, but we'll kind of go with the fact. Does anyone have any questions before we talk about focus, by the way? Any tips or tricks or things?
Yes, I have a question, Steve.
Yeah.
I'd love to know your insights about how perfectionism plays into fear of failure, or that whole element of like trying to do something so perfectly that then you end up like how to break through that a little bit.
Yeah. It depends on your disk profile. A lot of people want it perfect before they get out of the gate. I look at Apple and Microsoft. You got Microsoft Windows 95, Windows 98, 2000, 2005, right? Those are all revisions. There's no such thing as perfect, right? The Japanese term is called Kaizen, and it's constantly revising. When I was building my company, it got up to 1,000 properties, right? I couldn't have built that system when I had 50. We didn't know what we're not going to build all these servers and software and have all these employees. So we had to get to a point of failing, right? We had to, all of a sudden we would grow, and all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, this team is stressed. We've got this problem. We got that problem. And now we got to go, okay, how do we fix this? So we didn't know the mistakes we were going to have until we reached them. When you're starting your new business, when you're doing something you haven't done, you don't know the curve that's coming around the next corner. So I could ask you okay, and so what's your specialty? What do you do?
I'm a realtor and I'm looking to buy my first duplex.
Okay.
So I think I'm in the analysis paralysis because I want to make sure it's perfect and all the numbers are good and I don't make a mistake.
Okay. What's your fear of making a mistake?
I don't want to lose a lot of money. I don't want to lose hard-earned money. I want to be smart about it.
What's wrong with losing money?
If I can avoid it, I'd rather not.
I get it. We all would like to.
I'm stuck in that. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, okay. So what's ultimately wrong with losing money?
Yeah, and it's not the end of the world.
I mean, there's no lost money jail, right? I mean,
no.
You're not going to get stabbed in the throat if you lose money, right? I mean, you'll be fine, right?
Yeah.
Your bank account may show it, but does that? Why is money so valuable to you?
Because you work hard to earn it, and I want to make sure that it's working hard for me, and that I'm not, that I'm maximizing its use as best as possible.
Okay. So when you say you work hard to earn it, tell me what you mean by that.
That it takes effort to earn money, and I value that, and so I don't just want to waste it, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Doing something stupid or not planned out or not perfectly.
I get it. No, look, I get it. I'm just trying to understand. So when you say you have to work hard to get it, what does that mean to you?
I value that. I think that that's important to work hard and earn money and achieve something. And so yeah.
So what is your definition of working hard?
Well, being honest, smart, making good decisions, putting in the effort, doing the right thing, even if it's the hard thing. And then making sure that, you don't do something too quickly or not analyze it enough. But that's my over-analysis paralysis.
I get it. I'm going somewhere with this. So in your mind, right, which is reality, you assume that you have to work hard to earn money.
At least now. Yeah.
So what would it take to change the way you think? That maybe, what if you didn't have to work hard? What if you could double what you make on a daily, monthly, yearly basis by working less? Is that a possibility in your mind?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if you made more money, what do you consider making enough? Like what is that in your mind that you go, okay, this is enough money that I don't have to work hard for?
I think it's not. I don't think it's so much the number as so much as I just want to make sure that I'm being smart about investing and, getting the most return on my money and having my money work for me.
Okay.
Because
So
I know it builds on itself.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. When you say working hard, right? We'll go back to working hard. Why do you think that, like you say smart, like as if you lost money, that's not smart?
True. It's a mindset. Maybe I need to do a mindset shift on that.
Well, it's one of those things that we have to think about the words we tell ourselves, because if we're telling ourselves, I don't want to lose money, I don't want to lose money, I don't want to do something stupid, your brain doesn't know the word don't.
No, it's managing that.
So all you're doing is you're focused on losing money part. Because I could say, well, you could just as easily make money. I mean, that's a possibility, right? I mean, you could be successful and you could make a lot of money, right? You got a 50-50 shot, right? It could go one or the other. So the question is what do you have to do to think about if you can make money and not work hard? Like how would you think differently if you were to have a blank canvas in your mind, right? Don't think about past experiences, right? Because again, a lot of us have grown up with the assumption that we work hard and we will be successful. We work hard, we earn money. But that's not true. I mean, that's just something we believe. There's no law or rule that says that, right? And so we put more value, a lot of us, like you and other people, we put more value on money. We put more value on making a mistake than we do of what could that mistake teach me? So I'll give you an example. When I was, a lot of people know my story. When I was buying properties, not did I just buy one shitty house that was wrong. I bought like 35 of them over the course of a couple of years that were wrong, right? Along with other stuff and other properties. But I had about 35 that were just horrible, crappy, just horrible deals, right? So from what you're thinking, right? You would think like, holy shit, this guy's a loser, right? He doesn't get it, right? Which is true. I didn't get it. And that's why I kept buying them. But those mistakes taught me a lot of what I would never do again, which helped me create a very large business that I ended up selling for a large amount of money. Had I never, ever bought those bad properties, I would have never created a property management company. I would have never gotten it to the size it was, and I never would have sold it for a large sum of money had I never made those mistakes. So when being afraid to take that step, again, I'm not saying you just go out there and do stupid shit, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that don't be afraid of the what if. Because I could say, what if you're right? What if you make a lot of money, right? What if you don't make a mistake? And so you just have to think about, and this goes back to strategy. This goes back to focus. This goes back to making sure that you are aligned with what your end goal is and what that strategy is. And more importantly, and this is the mistake that I learned that I'll share with everyone here, is do not go off of your gut. Do not go off of your emotions. You go strictly off of numbers and data, right? So let me ask you this. How many deals in the last month would you say you have analyzed?
Probably 75.
Okay. What have you found from those 75 deals?
Each one I get better at analyzing different elements. And now I'm into, well, is the cash flow, or is there something is there something in the research, because I'm looking out of state, I'm in Southern California, and I'm not going to buy here. And so is there a piece of information I'm not thinking about, or something that I'm not factoring into buying out of state that I'm missing, or that kind of stuff.
Okay. What do you not like about those 75 deals?
Some of them, the numbers don't make sense. It's not good cash flow, and then I move on to the next one, or the numbers aren't good. But some of them, it is good. And I think that fear in the back of my head of what am I missing, or what have I not analyzed, instead of just pulling the trigger, I think is stopping.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I'm not trying to put you on spotlight, but I am putting you on spotlight.
I'm not trying to have the whole session. Sorry, guys.
Oh, someone's a hog here on the thing. No, just kidding. Okay, so here's the thing. Do you have a clear defined strategy and goal? Like, what is it you want out of real estate? Have you ever thought about what is that you actually want?
Yeah.
What is that?
Financial independence.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means that I have a portfolio with properties that pays my bills and no debt eventually, and that my money's working for me while I'm sleeping.
But what specifically, what is that? What is that? What is that number? That's a theory. That's a fictitious. I need to have $20,000 a month coming in. I want 20 properties. I want $2 million in asset. Like, there's a number tied to that, right? So, and I don't know if you have that, and you don't have to share it if you don't want to, but I'm just saying it's got to be a very, very clearly defined goal, because you said it doesn't make cash flow, right? So are you needing money today to live off of? Or are you buying this for a future goal?
Mainly for a future goal. Cash flow would be great. Obviously, I want a little bit, mainly for future.
Right. So why would you be worried if it's not cash flowing? Because you said it's not a good deal because it doesn't cash flow.
Well, I don't want to be losing money every month on it.
So you got a tenant paying the debt down, right? You got the property going up in value. You get to depreciate the asset. You get equity capture. Are you really losing money, or is that the story you tell yourself?
No, but that's that perfection piece of, well, if I can also get cash flow, add that one more thing to make it great or better.
I get it. It's also a way to talk yourself out of doing the deal.
True.
Which is fine. It's okay. You just got to identify it, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, we all have these devils in us that do and don't. But the thing is you've got to make sure you know the reasons. Just saying something doesn't cash flow. I could buy something in San Francisco. It's not going to cash flow, but I know it's a negative geared property, meaning it's going up in value exponentially, and it's going to maybe double in value in the next 10 years. If I can take the negative cash flow, it's a smart investment. So when we say it's not making money, you want to be careful the words you say, because that's not entirely true, because you're looking at one piece of a 5-piece puzzle. You got cash flow, debt pay down, equity capture, depreciation, and appreciation. So you're looking at one piece going, oh, it doesn't make money. Well, what about all these others?
True.
Not saying one is more important than the other, but you just want to make sure that when you're looking at this, you have a clear, concise strategy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm working on that. The seminar this weekend was great, really defining that.
Cool. Who did the seminar?
The PNW one.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, someone had seminar.
No,
okay.
One you were at.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So was that a little helpful for you at least?
Very much. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. Ashley, you got something to say, Ash? What's up? Did you say you wanted to have someone else you wanted to talk to?
That I wanted to talk to?
Yeah, that was putting chats in.
No, everybody had a ton of comments.
Oh.
I don't think there was any questions except for, yeah, most of them were just saying how awesome you were, great advice, blah, blah, blah.
I don't believe you. I think you're making that up.
Yeah, if someone did send a question, I missed it, send it again. But, can you repeat the above line and below line idea? Below the line equals, yeah.
Yeah, so above the line, below the line is ownership, accountability, and responsibility, OAR. Below the line is blame, excuse, and denial. So here's an easy example of that. Let's say you're supposed to get to work at 8 a.m. and you get there at 8:05 and you're like, oh, sorry, there was traffic. To me, that's not acceptable. You should have left earlier. Like, I don't give a shit if there's traffic. Like, you need to be responsible. You should have said, you know what? I left too late. That's on me. Right? So that's taking ownership. Blaming, saying, oh, sorry, it's been a hectic day. Like, to me, like, I don't accept those answers. If I coach someone or I help someone, I don't give a shit what your problems are. Take ownership. Own it. You know what? I fucked up. That's on me. I'm sorry. That's okay. But don't blame and have excuses. Oh, it's a bad day. Oh, the economy's bad, so I can't make money. Oh, everyone's outbidding me. Those are all excuses. Like, I'm not going to feel sorry for someone that is just wanting me to tell them it's okay, because it's not. Nobody cares about someone's problems, right? Once you own it and you're accountable and you're responsible, that is the way that you're going to succeed and you're going to push through some of these challenges. And what are you saying to other people? You know, especially if you own the business and you're late to meetings. Sorry, I'm late. I was on a call. Is your time more valuable than mine? No, I'm not. It's not okay. You be on time. Otherwise, we're going to cancel the meeting. So in our company, a lot of times my business partner, if the meeting started at 9 o'clock, he shut the door and locked it for a company meeting. And he's like, if you're going to respect my time or you're not going to be here. It's very simple, because it's a matter of having accountability, right? And saying, you know what, I fucked up. Next time I will be on time. Okay. Next time you can come in the meeting. This time you can't come in the meeting. So again, that's just ownership, accountability, responsibility, blame, excuse, denial. Any questions on that? No? Okay, cool. So one of the things I want to talk about is when you're new, right? When you're new and you're trying to learn something, we want to make sure that a lot of times we don't want to look dumb, right? Let's face it, right? We want to look like we know what we're doing. So we always try to say things that are smart on a certain subject, even though we have no idea what we're talking about, just so that we look smarter than we really are, okay? And I was told there's a reason that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Not really for me, because I just keep talking and talking and talking. But in general, you know, the more you listen to what other people have to say, the more you're going to learn. If anyone ever listens to me when I'm interviewing someone on one of my podcast shows, all I'm doing is asking questions. I'm pulling as much as I can out of them. And, you know, I've learned that the more that you learn, the more that you earn. The only way that you are going to learn is by shutting up and listening and asking questions based on that. So you really got to think about what it is you're doing and how are you asking these questions. You got to be respectful. You got to be respectful of their time. I met a gentleman one time, very influential, famous person, and I was trying to get a meeting, and I had somebody setting up the meeting for me. And finally, they said, "Okay, he can meet with you." And it was supposed to be like 30 minutes, and I was thinking, like, "Oh shit, 30 minutes? Okay, that's cool." So I get to meet him, and he says, "Sorry, I've got 12 minutes." And I was like, he says, "No disrespect," but he said, "I've got people that I need to talk to, and I will give you this time, but you have 12 minutes." So it took me about 3 minutes to think about what I wanted to ask him or what I wanted to say. So now I'm down to like 9 minutes with this guy. And he was like, "Listen, it's a matter of respect for the people that I'm working with." And he did not say a word until I asked him a question. Didn't care about why I was so happy to meet him and blah, blah. He sat there and he waited. So it's this odd silence. We lost like another 2 minutes with this stare down. And then finally I started asking him questions. And so he laser focused, this guy would not take his eye. It was like he was looking through me. I felt odd. Like he was just so focused, but he was waiting for me to ask him questions. And so a lot of times, you know, when you're talking with someone, you know, you really got to think about what are you going to ask them. When you're meeting someone, you've got to make sure that you are there to extract that information out of them. You've got to ask those questions, right? Even if you're paying them. I would have paid this guy thousands of dollars to meet with him, even for 12 minutes. People say I'm crazy, but I'm thinking I would pay someone $1,000 an hour, which I have done in the past. If I can make $1 million because of the $1,000, is it worth it? I would say, yeah. If we had our 60-day challenge, I think it was like $300, $400 for people. Is that worth it if I can show them how to make $1 million, multi-million-dollar business that runs without them? Why wouldn't it be, right? I mean, at some point, you're going to invest money or time, right? And you got to think about what you're investing in. When you're there, you've got to make sure that you're asking smart questions. You know, you're going to get many, many free hours of education from people just by asking them questions. So my point is don't be afraid of asking questions. The stupidest question, you would be amazed. Most people are going to be like, you know what? That's a good question. You know, never been asked that before. Or you know what? That's a good question. People ask that to me all the time. So my whole point is a lot of times people, when I talk to people, they just want to throw up at the mouth and tell me all the things that they do, all the shit that they're doing. And I'm like, do you just want me to shut up and sit here? Because I will. I'm not going to say anything. But I would think you'd want to use that time more wisely. And when you're meeting with people, I would say have questions, have them written down, And I don't know if anyone has ever heard of SMART goals, specific, measurable. Does anyone else know what the A is? Achievable.
Realistic, and timely.
Yeah, achievable. Thank you. Results oriented, and then time. So, a lot of times, like when you go to a conference, when we used to go to conferences, our business coach would always tell us, I want you to create 10 SMART goals when you go to this conference and come back with answers. So we would go there looking for answers to our questions. How do I get my revenue to increase from 12% ROI to 18% ROI? How do I increase my net worth? So we would go there with questions looking for answers. So when you go to you go to networking events and you do all these things, don't go there with, hey, what can people give me? Go there with thinking, how can I ask questions, right? How can I ask smart questions? And I want to come back with certain information, certain data. So again, I'm just giving you guys some ideas. When you do these networking events, if you're smart, you can become very, very successful by, number one, asking smart questions. But the biggest thing I've learned at the networking events is go there with the intention of how you can help them. Don't go, I see so many people, they're like, oh, what do you do? How can you help me? I'm like, I can't fucking help you. I don't even know what you do, right? And I'm not going to tell you what I do now because it's not worth my time. So just by them asking that, I'm like, I don't need to talk to anyone, right? Most people that, if you notice, most people that are successful, they will ask you questions. Is there anything I can do for you? How can I help you? What can I help you grow? And so if you're not doing that, really think about when you're at these events, watch the successful people. When Ashley and I were in Seattle with these guys, I mean, there's some big players that were there. Nicest people in the world. You talk to them about, hey, we should do something together. They're like, absolutely. How can I help you? What can I? And I'm thinking to myself, these guys, they don't really know us, right? They don't know Ashley. They maybe know me from the years of going, but all they want to do is help, right? And so they do that by asking questions to find out how they can help you. So when you go to those events, ask yourself, are you really asking other people, or are you just trying to show your resume to show how good you are, right? And so it's just something to think about as far as asking questions and taking notes. Does anyone have any thoughts on that they'd like to share at events or stuff like that?
Everyone just wants to give a shout out to John S.
Who's John S?
He's doing a plumbing how-to.
Yeah. How are you?
I can't see him. Maybe I shouldn't see him.
Look at, he's been doing that the whole time.
Yeah.
Plumbing?
It's been awesome.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, look, he's multitasking.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
I tried to spotlight you. I don't know.
John, what are you doing over there, man? Let me see what you're doing. What do you got?
Yeah, I got a gutted bathroom here from a flip that I'm working on. So I was doing the drainage. I was putting in the new 4-inch PVC for the toilet. So
cool. Hey,
yeah,
it's work. You gotta make it work, right?
I sure do. Trying to
Nice.
implement what I can from our 60-day challenge.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions or thoughts on that? And I'll let Ashley kind of take over from here and do the. Are we doing homework, Ash?
No, I didn't do any homework today, but I have the code for the cash flow calculator for anyone who doesn't have that yet.
And does anybody have any questions for me and Ash? I want to make sure we get, we're able to help everybody.
Hey,
I just
Steve.
wanted to follow up.
Yes, Nicole.
Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt. But so you asked earlier, like, how do we handle problems? Well, I'm kind of like put my head down, get her done kind of person. However, I've been running into problems with my investors because I don't always communicate the problems. I just take care of them and move forward. Mm-hmm. But my last 2 investors have been very upset with the delays that we faced, but I took care of them, right? I took care of the problems, the situations. But I'm getting the repercussions because of it, because I didn't, like, how much do I need to communicate? So I'd been filling him in all along, but I guess they didn't understand how much it would hurt the rehab in the end. Am I making sense here?
Yeah,
sorry.
It does. I guess the first question is what's everyone's role? Are they just passive and they're not involved?
Correct. They are all money people.
What are the expectations of the relationship? Like what were they expecting to happen?
So we went into these rehabs with like a 6-month to 7-month timeline, and they were just providing the cash, and I was the boots on the ground, managing the contractors, managing the project, doing the finish, doing the design, marketing, and all that, staging and stuff like that. So pretty much I was doing all the work and they were providing the finances.
Okay. And were you not hitting the dates?
I was, until we had delays with the municipalities and the cities.
Okay.
So it's just some things that were out of my control.
So how this goes into, to me, it goes into communicating.
Yes.
So when you talk to the investors, how does a conversation go?
So I was using Slack, but apparently they didn't like Slack, but I was keeping everything in line. However, I would call them and say, we hit a snag, the municipality, we've got a 3-week delay. Once we resolve it, then we'll keep moving forward. However, what I realized when I was reading back through my messages and the emails, I never put an end date, or I didn't say like, this is going to cause a month delay on on finishing. So I think because I left out that last part of the information, they always assumed that no matter what the problems were, we were still going to meet the deadline.
Okay. So
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It does. Yeah. So my suggestion when I used to have employees,
Yes.
I used to always say SCS.
Okay.
No, wait. Maybe it was CSS. I forget. Anyways. Okay. So here's the situation.
Okay.
So this is what's going on. This is just fact. I can't change this. The city tagged us. There's nothing I can do.
Right.
This is why it's a challenge. It's going to delay us. Here's the solution. So my thing is I don't want someone coming to me with a problem if you don't have a solution.
Right.
A solution could be, I'm still working on it. This is what I'm going to do. Right. But look, bad news sucks. Right. But not giving bad news is even worse. So I used to always tell people, like, don't come to me with the problem if you don't have a solution. I don't give a shit what it is. A solution is we're still working on it. That's fine. When can I expect an update? Right? So here's the situation. I don't know, but you know what? I will update you by Friday. Friday, you better update them. So it's like, I wouldn't want to be calling you Friday going, hey, what is going on? You're supposed to call me. Oh, I got busy. It's not an excuse. You said you're going to call me Friday. I expect to call. So that's a solution. And you know what? I don't know. I will call you Monday. Again, you're letting them know. They want to make sure that they're not in some black hole forgotten about. So I say that here's the situation. This is why it's a challenge for us. So this is why I'm telling you, and here's the solution. And I don't think that, in my opinion, communication, you communicate 55% is body language, 33% is tonality, 7% is the words. You send it to a Slack channel, you're communicating with 7% of the effectiveness. When it's a problem, they probably want to hear from you. Maybe even a video chat. Maybe even a video.
I was doing that. I was sending them videos, and I was doing that when we ran into problems. I didn't do the Slack thing, but that was just our main form of communication is what I was saying.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just like, in something like that, that's like, hey, I like, if it was me, I'd be like, hey, I want a phone call, because they may have questions. But I think that needs to be, that again, and you every time, like, look, they can't get mad at you for the city tagging. It is what it is, right? I mean, whatever they can be pissed, but it's like, here's where we are. This is why it's affecting us, and this is what I'm doing to resolve it. That's it. And a time of when you can expect further notice. Expect further information next Monday. That's all I can do. Does that help?
It does. Thank you very much.
You got it. Okay, so before I give this to Ashley and her 15 kids, please don't forget to invite other people to this. This is how we are able to grow this. So I really appreciate everyone doing this. If everyone can snap a picture of all of us, tag everybody on here on Instagram, Facebook, all the other stuff, Grindr, Tinder, whatever Ashley's on, all those other rooms. But if you don't mind, I'd appreciate it. Thank everybody for doing that, because also all the takeaways that you get, can you post those for us? Because a lot of people are like, what do you learn there? What do you get? What do you get out of the think tank? And so hopefully everyone's getting something out of here. And if you do, let other people know, because this is how we grow. If it doesn't grow, then I'll stop it. So the only way I'm going to keep it going is if we can keep it growing so that I can help more people. I do it for free. Ashley does it for free. We got Chris, Kirsten, we got Daniela. All of us are doing this for free just to help you guys all out. But it kind of takes all of us, right? Otherwise I can charge, but I don't want to do that. So if I could do that, I would appreciate it if you guys could tag it and give takeaways. And we give a lot of free shit away and stuff. So we do it because we want to do it, not because we have to. So, oh, sorry, Ashley. I didn't mean to cuss with your kids there. They're probably used to it with you, probably.
The music I listen to.
I'm sure. I've heard your music.
So I put into the chat and I just put it in again. If you guys haven't already downloaded the cash flow calculator, it's in there, and the promo code is cash flow free. So there's the link for that. And then also for next week, it is going to be a Steve takeover, and he will be having our good friend Katie Malfer on. She's a realtor in Houston, and she's gonna be our guest that week. Yeah, go ahead. And so that'll be great with them being on. And then the following week, it will be just me. It will be an Ashley takeover. And I will be having our good friend Jason Wagner on, and he'll be talking about building a business while working full time, and also the importance of tenant checks and credit checks and background checks for tenants. Yeah.
Just so you know, so Jason, when we had our property management company, Jason's company got us with our management company. We had a 1% eviction rate because of the background checks that he did. So he's definitely someone you want to listen to. Jason knows his shit. He's also the one that does all of our videos here in Houston, all the videography, but he knows what he's doing. So when it comes to tenant screening, especially with COVID, a lot of laws and rules have changed of what you can ask, what you can't ask. So definitely be here for Jason. Katie's awesome. She and I, I'm sure, will make it very enjoyable and very fun. And if you want to have questions about Houston, Katie would be the one to talk to. So Katie,
they were both at my mermaid party, so you know they're cool.
We were both at her mermaid party at my house. Yes, they were both
Jason
there.
Jason and Katie were. But and also like Jason, one thing that intrigued me about him was that the company that my property management company uses right now for credit checks and background checks, especially the background check, it doesn't even pull background checks from New York, which is where I'm investing, where I live, and where my tenants are from. It was like, how can that be?
How can that, yeah.
So I connected them. So Jason, if you're on here, you better close them.
Yeah, Jason's a great guy, very good friend of mine. I've known him for years and years, but if you want to have some questions about background checks, do that. And everybody, I know we went over a little bit, so she put it in the notes for the cash flow. Again, I normally charge for it, but we're giving it free. You're giving your time, so we're giving you something for it because we appreciate it. Like I said, my only fee is that you please invite other people, post it on there what your takeaways were, and we can all make this great and make it grow as big as possible. We also have a Facebook group. I don't know if you guys know. There's a lot of people from BiggerPockets on there. Think Tank Mastermind. I don't know if someone can put a thing in there, but happy to help everybody as much as we can. So if you have questions, let us know. Anyone who asks me knows that I'm pretty good at getting back to everybody as much as possible, as quick as possible. So I think that is about it, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time today. I'll be checking Instagram, Facebook, all those things. She'll be on Grindr and Tinder. She'll be checking there. All right, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.